Yes, in general.
And welcome everybody. So please make yourself at home. If you don't, we can't help you. So tea, coffee, don't be too formal. If you need to get up and make a cuppa or whatever, part way through it. Toilets around the corner there. Exits that way and that way. And what else do we need to say? Thank you, Peter, for coming. We've got a special guest, Peter, so from Rotary, our local or district. How do I? District Governor. District Governor. That's it. I should get it right, shouldn't I? District Governor. So we really appreciate it, and thank you for those who've come today from a distance. We really appreciate it. We've got some ladies up the back there from New Guinea. Wave your hand because we won't recognise you. Yeah, you can join them if you want to. We're okay with that, but you'll see some slides tonight and who was a part of it today. But thank you, ladies, also at the back for coming along. Who do we hand over to? Trudy. Let's make a start. Thank you.
Thanks, Hans. I was talking to Hans and Russ last week, and I just thought it'd be really good to have a bit of background to this project. What the boys did in New Guinea was amazing, but I just thought it'd be interesting for everyone to hear the story of how this came about. So this Clean Water Project is a great example of how Rotary Peninsula 2.0 works collectively with others to achieve outstanding outcomes for communities, both locally and internationally. Russell and I first connected with the two board members from Disaster Aid Australia, DAA, through the sky hydrant installation at Green Gecko in Cambodia 9 years ago. We went to one of their conferences and met Angeline and Maria, two of the board members, and they've become great friends of ours, and whenever they're in Melbourne for a DAA conference, they stay with us. 3 years ago, during one of their AGM weekends, they rang and asked if a young friend could come and stay overnight with them rather than travelling back to the city alone. 3 years later, that young lady, Pretty, is part of our family and a valued member of our Rotary Club and part of our Rotary family and our family. That same weekend, they rang again on their way home on Sunday evening to say that they'd met a lady from Carrum Downs who was interested in joining Rotary. They brought her home and we took her out for dinner, and Jacinta came into our lives, and soon after she became a valued member of our Rotary Club. Jacinta had long been interested in the work of DAA. Together with Nellie, who's here this evening, they travelled down to Traralgon to view a presentation and to see a display about disaster aid and the sky hydrants. Following the devastating double disaster that had struck East Sepik in 2022 and early 2023, where Jacinta was born and raised. She then attended the DAA conference in 2023 and connected with people leading the DAA's work, and where she met Angeline and Maria. At the time, Jacinta was part of the Melbourne Mamase group, along with Veronica, who's here this evening, and a lot of dedicated women who were helping to raise $20,000 to fund a bore, a water tank, and a clean water filtration system for the village in Pagwe to provide safe drinking water in response to the disaster. Jacinta approached our club to see whether we could assist. So we ran Bunnings barbecues with them. We supported them with barbecues over in their communities over in Thomastown. And then around the same time, one evening, Cole was here at Rotary with me, and he asked if I knew of a community that could benefit from a clean water filter. I immediately thought of Jacinta and the group, and Veronica and the Mamase ladies, and their vision of bringing clean water to communities in East Sepik. The ladies continued with their fundraising efforts, and then Veronica, oh sorry, there's someone coming in the back door. Okay, the ladies continued their fundraising efforts, and then Veronica had a meeting with the East CPIC Governor, Alan Bird. Through those discussions, funding was secured for 3 solar-powered water bores and tanks to be installed at the community centre, where the girls were raising all the money for one, and then at the hospital and school. At the same time, DAA changed suppliers from a previous filtration system to a Smart Aid Ultra filter. And this change enabled Colin Barb to sponsor not one, but to be able to sponsor 3 water filters and significantly increase the impact of their generosity. As a result of the collaboration between the Melbourne Mamasay Group, the East CPAC Provincial Government, DAA, Rotary Peninsula 2.0 and the generous support of Colin Barb, 3 communities were now able to access reliable water supplies of clean, safe drinking water. This project demonstrates what can be achieved when people and organisations come together with a shared purpose. It's a wonderful example of Rotary's ability to connect people, build partnerships and create lasting change. But there was one piece missing in the puzzle, the installation of these water filters, and that's where Hans and Russell come in. And tonight we're fortunate to have Hans and Russell here to explain how they installed the next part of the puzzle and how the water filters were installed in PNG. So please welcome me in. Welcome. Please join me in welcoming Hans and Russell. Thank you.
Oh, no.
I will, but I'll just get this going.
Oh, this is paper here, so actually the beer off it was they got power.
So yes, we started at the airport. Where do we go? Next one. So this shows just where we went. So just obviously Australia to Brisbane, up to Port Moresby, then to a place called Wewak, and then from Wewak we drove to Putney. This area here is called the Sepik River, the Sepik region. So that there we drove on the highway, I'll say highway, for 3.5 hours in a 4-wheel drive. And Roy was our driver, and you'll see a photo of Roy. So Port Moresby's in the top, I think 5 cities in the world that you don't visit for danger. And Wewak is a beachside village, for want of a better term, and you'll see some photos of where we stayed there. We were there for one night, and then we basically loaded up into the 4-wheel drive and went out into the bush. So we'll show you some photos from there, and Russ and I will share the microphone. Sorry?
We took that Veronica on the mic.
That's it. So you tell them all about it. So that's us obviously at the airport, ready to go. So first night of dinner. So we ordered banana fritters. And so we had a very, very good meal. So that was the accommodation. One of the best hotels. Friends of ours who visit Papua New Guinea a lot suggested this hotel. It was lovely, but out to sea, as far as you could see, you know, you're just looking really at the, for miles, there's nothing, and it's very remote. Here we are, we've left and we're in the 4-wheel drive. We've picked up Jacinta and Veronica. Veronica is here, of course. So the gentleman, it'll come a little bit more why I'm putting it. This gentleman here's on the government, he's the highway minister. All right, just hold that thought. That's his wife. Of course, and then we've got Jacinta and Veronica, Roy, our driver, and we all know this man over here. So we met here, picked them all up, loaded up the cars, and off we went. So then, that's the highway. All right, notice the windscreen, all the cracks and the weeds. So sometimes you'd be driving along at 80 kilometres an hour, and the next minute you had to drive off the highway because it was better than the highway. So, and then of course you had a lot of this sort of thing all packed up in like vehicles. So we arrived at, this is Jacinta's house, or her area, and we arrived there, and they... the volume. So obviously, as you can see, they were very excited for us to arrive. And then I go back, I think one. So that's the group, some of the people there, and probably all these people, and about 3 times as many, live at Jacinta's house. They just kept coming and going. We didn't know who was living there and who wasn't, did we, Russ?
Worse than the Fool's place.
Yeah. So that's us getting all dressed up. Well, Russ, you can tell us a little bit about this.
Rightio. So this is opposite Jacinta's house there. So before the water, they were walking about 500 metres down to the Septic River, or Septic River they call it, because it smelled like septic, looked like septic. And that was fairly flowing. It's probably flowing, I don't know, 10 knots, 15 knots, yep. And there's even dead crocodiles floating in it. So before they had the tank over there, they had to walk down and do their washing and bathing, as well as, you know, wash the vegetables, otherwise bring water back and then boil it. So I thought, I'm not going to walk the river and everything. So by the first day, we had sort of a tap out to the fence there. And as Trudy said before, these are the tanks they put in, put the tank stands in, put a solar panel on the roof, but the solar never had a float switch on it, so it filled it up until you turned the switch off, or otherwise when the sun went away, the water stopped flowing.
So that's the tank there. And where we're standing here is at the gate across the highway to Jacinta's house. So, and this is the community centre across there.
So then from there to the end of the highway, so you got from Weewack, where we were, stayed the first night 4 hours down by car, and that's the end of the main highway. So then you got the river highway from there on. So that's where it is there. So that's the Septic River, and that flows and that floods, and it floods everything, and there's crocodiles and everything in it there. So
well, as Russ said, the river becomes the highway. So you've got all the villages up and down the river, and on a Friday they have a market. So everybody, this is Jacinta's place. That was part of their fresh water. So it came out of the drain into there, and then they'd walk through.
I thought that was from the movie Frozen.
Yeah. So this is where we were staying. This was our accommodation. You'll see a photo a bit more in a minute. This was the kitchen over here and the lounge room. And as I say, there were people coming and going like there was no tomorrow. So this is us on our deck. Luxury, our beds. And then our typical meal was they'd make us some rice, and we bought cans of, what was it, Russ?
Camp pie. Yeah.
So, and the mattress was about that thick. So this is the next morning. We woke up, and it was still dark, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. There's people arriving, trucks, and that's that public area. You can see up the back there's the tank, which is actually behind Russell's head. I can't see it. So then again, the market, the people, the trucks, and a huge event. They come from everywhere for this event. So this is now the water tank at the school and at the hospital. And just shows you what was set up already. As Russ said, it had the solar on the top. The government was fantastic in setting all of that up. We then made a trip to the local town of Marprick, which was over an hour's drive. So you don't want to do that too many times, so we had to make sure, Russell.
So when we actually took the water filters with us, so there's 3 bare water filters, so we had to buy all the parts over there to get them. There's supposed to be little tanks there, but see the wheelie bins up on the top there, the middle one's gone, so we bought two of the smaller ones, and one of the bigger one we use as the head flushing tank, which we'll see. So we had to buy all the, come into town, so when we got there, I think it was this Friday or Thursday. So Friday we walked around early in the morning to the three sites and worked out exactly what we need for and just went in and overbought for everything, just float switches and different things and fittings and a bit more hose and that. So, and that, as Hank said, there's no Bunnings around the corner. It's an hour drive into town. So then on one of the days we come back, there was a high carjacking just in front of us. So
So, and it was interesting because Russ had to improvise. Again, you're not walking to Bunnings, there's everything there. So he's trying to think about what we needed and how we needed to connect it. So we went to a couple of different places and then eventually got what we needed. So safety first, a typical PNG ladder. So that's at the hospital. You can see the green bins up there, and then for the backwashing or the flushing out system. That's the hospital. So it gives you an idea. It's like an old army barracks, 1960s type setup.
30s or 60s.
Yeah, probably
1930s, I reckon the, what's the name, the World War II vets. Barb's dad built them on the way out, I think.
So that's the doctor and his child. He's a lovely bloke and absolutely really appreciated what we were doing. There's Russ hard at work and all the many helpers. They came from everywhere and there were hands in. You wanted something, the hands were in.
So you can see all the heap on the ground there. So we had to make everything, then try and generator and those, well, actually screwed the valves to that valve star pickets. So we had to go around and try and buy some star pickets and improvise and find it while we're there. So, and you didn't want to be driving into town an hour each way. So
again, that's the water tank at the school. That's the headmaster and
teacher.
Teacher.
That's at the school, and it's a Catholic school. Jacinta went to that school. Veronica, you didn't go to that school, did you? And Jacinta said, Russell, you can't put that in Sunday because it's their church day. They do church. And I said, well, I'm putting it in Sunday morning, Jacinta, because that's so hot. It's probably 40 degrees in the shade out there, and we couldn't do it at lunchtime. So I said, you tell the headmaster I'm going to put it in, and that's my church. So I'm just putting it in, so we've got to do it. So, but when we got there, the principal was there and the teacher, and I said, you blokes supposed to be at school. I thought you need help.
So that's some of the boys, the helpers in the car, and Roy, the driver. He was either chewing betel nut or he was chewing something. He always had something going, didn't he?
He's chewing tablets for malaria. He's had malaria 5 times, Veronica, I think, hasn't he? So
just back to the school, from from Pugwee, where we were staying, to here is about a 2-hour walk along the highway. So the kids would walk that in the morning, and then in the afternoon they'd walk home again in the heat of the day. So Jacinta, she did it when she was a girl, So now if they're lucky and they've got a few, whatever they've got money, there is a bus. But if you miss the bus or miss the truck or the ute, you're walking 2 hours there, 2 hours back.
So, and Roy used to go to school with Jacinta, didn't Veronica? They used to walk, Roy and Jacinta used to walk, they were in the same grade. They used to walk to school and back to the end of the highway, then catch the boat back home. So
this is at the community centre, many helpers. Again, these 2 tanks here were meant to be feeding off the roof of the building there, the community, just a shelter. But what Russ then said is, well, we've got plenty of water. So we got the guys to dig a trench from where the bore was in the tank around to these big tanks. We went back to my creek and got some more float valves and things. So Russ set that up so that those 2 tanks were full of fresh drinking water as well. So, and we then fed a pipe off that across the grounds, dug a trench, and then you'll see in a minute at night, we dug a trench under the highway. So Jacinta had fresh water. We're still waiting for the permit for that. So there's our bins there. So with the new ultra filters,
they rely on a backflush. So you'll put a filter up there above it, so then it's got clean water, fills it, and then I put a float switch in that bin there, the wheelie bin. So I thought that's probably going to last, the wheelie bins last probably as long as the tanks, and then at least they're accessible to get then if we need them.
So that's a good shot. You can see Jacinta's house across there. So we dug a trench from here around to the other end of that building, and we dug a trench across and over to Jacinta's house there.
And the local governor, what would you call him, Veronica, the local little bloke there, he was the boss.
They're all little, Russ.
Sorry? Councillor, because he said he wouldn't allow us water out to the fence. So I said to him, I said, unless we get water tapped to the fence on the outside, I'll pull the filter out. So then I said, tell him that, Jacinta, so she did. Then I said, and asked for water, he put a trench across to your place. So then he had to go back, and so I said, it's not for you, none of this had happened. So then we ended up digging the trench, as Hand said, and we're still waiting for the permit.
So they went off to get some celebratory food. So yeah, Veronica, they went off in one of those boats, the dugouts, and up to a lake or something, and brought them back. Bit of crocodile, hey? Yum yum. So these are the kids. They're going off to school in the little dugout. They're the stairs up to our accommodation. Try and go up and down those at night. That handrail wasn't there when we arrived. So they put it there for health and safety. So that, and
The little bloke with the machete was about 3, I reckon. He had a kitchen knife, it was about this long, but he had it sorted though. He still had his feet when we left.
everybody walks around with a machete, just obviously to whatever they do, but they all do. Again, our accommodation where we sat.
Hang on, just go back there, Hands. There's someone near you. Well, is Veronica hard at work there on the phone?
We had Wi-Fi.
Actually, the Wi-Fi and it was a little King's solar panel, little fold-out panel there, which you'll see a young bloke climbing up, putting the roof, and there's a little battery, and I don't know, there's probably at any one time there's 20 chargers running off it for everyone to charge a phone. So
Yep. So that's the other bedrooms.
Hands was so messy.
Yeah, that wasn't our room. But you'd wake up in the morning and there'd be people just laying on the floor around you. Quite fun. So there's the kitchen again. They're doing the dishes. And that was, while we were there, that was our bathroom where we had our shower or bath or whatever. That's the boys digging at night with the trench. So how deep was it, Russ?
So that was the main highlight. That was probably 800 down to the room, and we put a steel pipe through the plastic pipe through the steel pipe, so it wouldn't punch it through the stones there.
So it did an amazing job, didn't they? They just all came from everywhere. They're sweating and they're just wanting to help. Oops. So there's Russ with a few of his friends. And then the celebrations began. They were just so excited about the whole thing.
Break in the song. As the water filters through, so then the main lot of the water comes in through here, and then it that one pumps back up to the clean water tank, and the other one, that one's only a chemical wash there, and he's got a little filter here. So this here one now is from Ultra Filter. So we're through Disaster Aid, we buy them straight out of China there now, so we're not buying them out of Australia. So they're a lot cheaper. The girls think they're not as pretty, but they do a good job. And they're basic men's shed there. Men's shed there in Endeavour Hills make the that little block. And this stuff's local. We bought all that local. That's the only hose I took and a couple of little fittings. So
The metal bracket, we had to.
we made that metal bracket. As I said, that was star picket. We cut off it, drilled it through there to try and tie it all in. And there's got to be tin put around there. But as it's saying PNG, it's a work in progress. So
Yep.
You're waiting for a permit.
they won't be getting a permit.
So this one here.
It's got to come soon, the water's got to come soon.
Yeah.
Exciting, eh?
There we go, Jacinta.
Yeah, that's right.
That's in Jacinta's place there.
Did you say something?
So Jacinta's got flowing water. Here comes the Queen. How's that, Queen? Hey,
What's there?
Need this.
perfect. Look at that. Lucky, lucky girl. And drinking water.
Shower, wash. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Paul. Love you. Thank you for your generous donation to make a very big difference.
So this water is coming from way over here, under the road to here. So this is a tank in her front yard inside the fence or her compound. So from that they can ladle water for the kitchen. They can also then ladle it to wash themselves, do whatever. So yeah, very important.
And the governor has given them permission to get one of the other tanks and put in her place there, so.
That's right.
We'd run out of time though, so that was over the day we're leaving.
So we went on a river cruise.
This is does anyone see Gilligan's Island? 3-hour cruise.
Russell got the first class ticket.
Only because some people wouldn't sit on the chair because they think they'd fall out of the boat.
So off we went with this bloke with his motor. I don't get much said, but
About 15 on it.
it's just a dugout log. While we were going along or getting in it, a dead crocodile was up. I've never smelled anything like it, huh?
Where are the life jackets?
Under the seat.
Actually, they said they're on the seats. I didn't even bother looking.
No. So we went to a village and they were actually having a committee meeting there and
That was Jacinta's village,
yes,
and that was 10 k's up. 10 k's up from the main highway, from the road there. So that was her village. So she wanted to go back and help her village and help the people out there.
yeah. So we had some coconut water, which was lovely. They took us for a walk along the edge of the river. I've never seen so many mosquitoes, you know. We're eating malaria stuff. We're doing all sorts of... We got about halfway and Russ and I looked at each other and said, we need to get out of here. This is crazy.
I thought them Aussie spotting.
They were everywhere. You got sticks trying to whip them off you and it was thick. So pulled up for some juice. Petrol station, that's typical along the highway. Family just has a service station. Mum and the kids, and off you go. That's how you buy it. So now we're back in Wewak. So what was her name again?
Jacinta. It was young Jacinta.
Young Jacinta.
It was,
So
it was
what relation-
Jacinta's niece.
So she hadn't been at a meal like this before. So she came back because she had an abscess.
Abscess.
So we had a meal. We invited them and Roy, the driver, and I think she was a little bit overwhelmed. So, but anyway, we had a lovely meal, and that's us at the airport saying goodbye.
Couple of rascals there.
Yeah. That was at the airport in Port Moresby, a big Rotary sign, changing lives and building a better society for tomorrow. So this here is the, just showing the signs that you put up. Go on.
Yeah, that's at the hospital there, and that's Barb's dad, Albert there, Marshman. Did you talk about him, Barb, or not, or asking questions, or?
Yeah, my dad was.
Hang on.
Come on, grab the mic.
I probably don't need this. My dad was in the Second World War over there, and he, was in all sorts of situations. But he was in charge of a group, and one Sunday he said to the guy that used to go around and collect the mail on a Sunday that I'll do that. And he was rescued, and I know it's not politically correct to say, but he was saved by Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels. Sorry. So that was just a dedication to Dad because, he'd done it tough over there, so just a small thing.
And it's not,
Job, Barb.
it's a big thing.
And that was a hospital, so I said to Barb before we went, we'll get a couple of signs made up, and Barb suggested that one for the hospital for her dad, memory of her dad.
When we were at the hospital, the nurses came out, and again, we connected it all up and got the tap going. And you just can't believe the appreciation from the nurses and the doctors of just fresh drinking water. And again, Russ being Russ. So we got the tank above, and there was some spare tanks further across, and this massive big concrete slab. So he got the boys to dig a trench. Guess why?
No permit.
No permit. Got the tank on the big concrete slab and thought, well, we got more fresh water, and it was closer to the hospital, a little bit closer. So you had the tank on top and this other huge tank. So I must say Russ was very, very good at improvising and making things happen. And for me, it was a real learning curve and just a great experience to just be there and experience that. And thank you to the team for that.
There was no power there. So that's why the solo, and there's no power and Pagra there. And so they had a little solar panel on the roof of the hospital, and they had a freezer box there with a freezer. And one of the boys got Jacinta's boys was after the night we dug the trench, I think it was, got bitten by a snake, so they run him in there, and they had venom, so they only had 2 lots of venom for different snake bites. And they kept him overnight in hospital there. So, but there's no power, and there's a steel bed like an operating table there. There's a couple of terrible looking mattresses on the floor, and that they got nothing. So survival it is really. So don't get sick over it.
It was like we donated them a car or a house. It just meant so much. So in 3 places in the local community, and of course Jacinta's house, at the hospital and at the school, we've got fresh drinking water. Each one will supply up to about 1,500 people a day.
Yeah, depends on the tanks, because we got extra tanks put in there now for the community centres too. So there's probably 30,000 litres there, and at the hospital there, the initial tank, those tanks were on the stands there. They were 10,000 litres. They put another big one, that big tank was 20, so they probably got 30,000 litres of fresh drinking water there. So which they never had before they were catching it or getting it out of the river. They had no bores or anything.
It would have been probably mosquito infested. Pardon me.
And we always had helpers. There's always kids there, so I was getting the kids to cut and do things and all that, and there's always plenty of helpers. So the boys and girls, I said, because all had no t-shirts on, I said, oh, good boy, I'm a girl.
But the Russ also, what they had was these laminated sheets, so that the idea is then when we leave, we would before we left, Russ would show them how it works and the taps and the flushing and all of that. The water was pretty clean relatively that was coming out of the bore, so this was just bringing it to the level we needed it. So, but with those laminated sheets, with the principal and the teachers and at the hospital and that, we were able to show them how to look after it and to maintain it. So as I said before, the trick now is, because if the rascals and the obbos or whatever come and fiddle with it, it needs a fence or a gate around it, and I think that's really important. They're working on that. But once that's done, it's finished. But again, thank you, Colin and Barb. Let's put our hands together for them.
Veronica, did you want to come up and say something? Or?
Veronica did all the hard work and the driving and the sales pitch to get us to here, and
So, Veronica, you need to tell a little bit about yourself, but my understanding is Veronica's very connected in the community, not only in Papua New Guinea, but here in Australia, highly educated, and was very instrumental in dealing with different government bodies and different organisations. You need to tell us, because you're very humble, but you need to tell us a little bit about that if you would.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Bob and Cole, for the donation, for the generous donation of the 3 filters. It really made a lot of impact for the community. Hans and Russell, they were not there. They left before the governor and the whole administration team from the ECP provincial government was. They went over. We had a massive celebration. It was a really big celebration, and the governor was so grateful for the filters that were generated. They were donated. He was actually already doing the bore water system around the province, but it was just the water from they were just brown water up, unfiltered water, and now with the filters, the water is now purified and it's more clean and safe for the community to use. And from the governor himself, he was very grateful for the generous donation of the filters. Thank you so much. Well, I'm Veronica. I'm one of the community leaders here in Melbourne for the PNG community. Before I came here, I actually worked back in the province as the community development officer advisor. So I was there, and I did much of community work back in the province before I came here. And so when we were here and the disaster happened in 2022, the double disaster, the governor happened to be, we were in school together. He was 2 years after me, so he was more like a junior to me. So I know him personally. And besides, also given my previous work experience back at home, I had the connection with the provincial authorities. So I was able to use that network to connect the Rotary Club here, Menzies, and our Momasi group here with the provincial government in ECP to say that we are coming over with a donation from assistance from Rotary 2.0 from here, Peninsula. Thank you so much. And they slept in a really good hotel, first class hotel.
Well, actually, it was better in the first place because the first place was down on the river, and we had to walk up these little stairs, and the room was probably that, and it had a high window like a toilet window, and there's a fan in the corner. That was the guest house. And that was the guest house.
It would be like a hot box.
And if the fan worked.
Yeah. So we said to Jacinta, we went back and we said we'd like to sleep up here because where they got these the nets and so on. So we slept up on the veranda. So one night we were up there, we're sleeping in a storm.
Every night, right?
Yeah, but one night, and they get up and they put the plastic tarp around the edge of it to shelter us. So we'd be laying there, and you'd sort of get woken up at night, and you'd have to get out of your thing and drag. So I think Russ was sort of here. So I ended up around it over here, and there's about 5 other people sleeping on the balcony as well. Who they are, I got no idea. They weren't there when we went to bed. So then the storm came through and the plastic tarps going everywhere. So we all ended up in the lounge room near the bedrooms, and we're all packed in there out of the wind and the rain, and it was just so much fun. You get up in the morning and you do it again.
Can you tell us what you do now?
Um, I work at the Asylum Seeker Resource Center, one of the program managers there. I manage the program for refugee and migrant women. So yes, I coordinate and manage the Women's Empowerment Program at the ASRC for almost 10 years now. So that's where. So I came straight from Footscray today. Yeah, and when Nelly messaged and said, "We're having this, can you come over?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I can come." So, but I live in Tanit, so I'm gonna go all the way back to the west after tonight. The governor, he's done a lot of the water wells around the province. When he was there, he really wanted to reach out to Rotary here to help. They will buy. He wants to buy the water filters from here to install in the borewell water that he's already done. And yeah, I'll see if there's something that we can help around here. I can let him know and we can get some work going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is he based in
Anyway,
Melbourne or
who? The governor?
Alan? Yeah.
Oh no, in the West.
We yeah. That's what I thought.
I just want to make a comment.
Yeah, yeah, please.
It's not my stage.
It's okay.
Tell who are you?
I have a question for sorry, yes, I am Nelly, outgoing president of Frankston Rotary Club. I just have a question for you, Hans and Russ. I guess in communities like that, you were very innovative. You could think you're in a developing country, there's no Bunnings around the corner. You could do all of these things. How confident are you that the next installment will be sustainable? Because you were there, you were teaching as well, there were people helping. I guess when we think about locally led development, it's about us going in and then making sure that they can then continue that. How confident are you that this will happen?
Yeah, I think I'm confident enough. We probably need to go back and just teach a team of 3 or 4 to do it, because we have a different helper every day from 5 to 50 sort of thing. My mate Russell, I don't know if he could do it, but he'd be in the Photoshop, so I don't think there'd be a problem there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think as Russ said, you need to find 2 or 3 heroes, competent, tradespeople. Papua New Guinean trade. Well, Jacinta's brother built the house, didn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Still standing. But yeah, you just need to find some competent people. But yeah, thank you, the folks from Frankston Rotary for coming as well tonight. That's really
questions?
Any questions?
So just another comment before I leave. I think this project and the other projects that we deliver into countries like Cambodia and Papua New Guinea really shows where not-for-profit organizations like Rotary can really fill that gap, because it is a reality that the government has no money. The government looks at partners in Australia and the EU for support, but when there's funding cuts like what's happened in the US, the developing countries are hit very badly. And so the arm of Rotary reaches further than what we see here. It goes further, and every little child in a developing country knows the logo of Rotary. It's a very well-known brand. So I thank you. Again, we are from the Momase group, so we wear different hats, but really thank you to Peninsula 2.0 for the support.
Any questions?
Why is it up on steel posts?
Because it's got to have the flow. Because remember the old hot water service in the roof?
Yes.
When you turn on one tap, it worked all right, but when you turn on another coal one, it got into coal. And so that's why over there, because the unit itself's only 3/4 or 20 mil pipe into it, so it's a lacking of a pipe. So it only flows as good as what it is. So it's got to be, the higher it is, the better off it is there.
So by the pump putting the water into there, giving it head pressure.
Yes.
So then the weight of that water,
Yes,
then that
heavy.
pipe went all the way under the ground,
Oh,
way across over the highway.
so the
So but
weight
it
of the
needs
water.
the head pressure.
Yeah, the height. Gravity, they call it.
That's why you see yeah, but if you look around here, there's reservoirs, there's one up in Frankston.
Yeah.
it's
They're on a
top of the
hill.
Or like the big dams, you know.
Yeah, they're at the top of the
Because you've got no power to pump it.
So you rely on.
Any other questions?
So
Yep.
then, in the event of a flood,
Not going to flood that high.
it's not going to flood. I mean,
Not the high as the
it
tank.
would still be accessible to get the water out of it, even in the case of a flood. Like, yeah.
That's what's that? 3 meters above. On the,
Yeah,
For
but
the
what
tax-
you're saying is at the hospital and at the other one, they're well away from rivers and stuff. So it'd be only at the community centre. I think if it flooded, it was probably a few metres higher than. So if the river flooded, it wouldn't be that deep, close to. Would that be right?
Yeah, no, if the river floods, it will come after the community
Yeah,
center.
it is a little bit raised, probably a couple of metres. Would give you my best guess.
yeah, I asked Jacinta that. I said, was it high enough here? And she said, it's never flooded up to here because the backyard of her house is wet because it was rainy season over there and the riverbank had broken. That's why the water was at the back of the house there.
Alrighty. Any other questions?
How many days have you been there?
7, 8 total.
You count,
Yeah, I think about 8 total.
Eight.
There,
8 in total, so.